Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Talmud Jmmanuel. See also Jmmanuel. See also Judas Iscariot. See also Isa. Rashid Askits. Explanations Part 6.
But I have fully understood your explanations, because I do know the New Testament, which allegedly contains your teaching. But for a short time now, I have known that the allegedly handed down teaching is only an evil falsification and only corresponds to the actual truth in very few things. Not at all to mention thereby regarding your own person, who has been pressed into a form of a god and a form of creation, and who is proclaimed as the Redeemer of earth humanity. You sit before me and I see that you are precisely as much a human as is Asket here, as is Jitchi over there, and your brothers and students, who, in our time, are called disciples. Now, I wonder how it has come about that no direct documentation of your teaching has been handed down, because to my knowledge, the first words of the New Testament, which exists in my time, were written only around 200 years after your alleged death on the cross. Do you not write down any facts at all of your teaching in such a way that they can be kept for posterity?
Truly, your question is very precisely directed. Consider, my time is about 2 millennia before yours, and in this time only certain forms of society are literate. On account of my mission, I did also learn writing and reading, yet I have insufficient time to write down my teaching. And if I speak of my teaching, truly, then I thereby name the teaching of all great ages, the teaching of the Spirit and the teaching of the laws and recommendations of creation, which are eternally imperishable. I learnt it in a similar way to you, and furthermore spent long years in the distant land of Kushnot from Billy, today part of North India, where I was permitted to experience further learning. So the teaching is indeed preached by me, yet it is truly not originally from me. Truly your question is, however, warranted. I fully know the false and wrong teachings of the future about my true teachings and about my person. But no practical steps are planned to change these coming misleading events, because the mass of erring and falsifying humans is too great to be able to influence them even on a small scale. This will unfortunately lead to a false teaching of much longer than 3,000 years, and to very much need, pain, hate, misery, and bloodshed. Truly, in spite of that, however, the truth will not be lost, because it will, in a safe place, remain transmitted, and also outlast the time, in a written form. Among my followers, I have a literate man named Judas Iscariot, who writes down the most important parts of the teaching and events, which later, well preserved, shall outlast the time in order to hand down the actual truth to posterity. With the help of an ex-priest, these texts will be found by you, in your time, in Jerusalem, and you will spread them again, true to their meaning, and make them accessible to the humans. But your time is still not ripe enough for that, and only in little more than 2 decades, in your own time, will the seed of truth find a little fertile ground.
That is good. You therefore mean that your teaching really remains preserved, and then it will also be found by me somewhere?
Truly, that is what I am saying. Already the texts are being sought now in order to destroy them, and to use them as indictments against me. One scroll has already been stolen from the writer and kept closed by the Pharisees and the scribes. Judah Iscariot, a son of a Pharisee, secretly took it out of Judas Iscariot's bag in order to sell it to my persecutors for 70 pieces of silver, in order thereby to be able to charge me with blasphemy against God. But Judas Iscariot has been ordered by me to write the text once again, and now to keep it quite safe whereby its purpose will outlast the ages.
You speak of Judas Iscariot, who is supposed to be your betrayer, as the texts of my time still convey, nonetheless falsified.
Truly I speak of him. But he will in no way be the guilty one. He who will hand me over to the persecutors is the same one who stole the texts and sold them.
Therefore Judah Ihariot?
So is it. But his father will spread the lie that Judas Iscariot is the betrayer, because the Pharisee name Ihariot must not be soiled. But the reason is also based on the fact that the priests, scribes, and Pharisees and their followers can say, "Behold, one from his own ranks has betrayed him and handed him over to a death on the cross. Behold, behold, how can his teaching be truth if his own people betray him and sell him?"
So that is the way it is. Now I understand quite a bit more. But now I ask myself, who then really hanged himself in Potter's Field? Respectively, who will hang himself there in the coming time?
Judah Ihariot.
But now it interests me whether the texts mentioned by you, Talmud Jmmanuel, will really serve the truth in my time. I mean thereby the records of Judas Iscariot?
Truly it will be they, even if they will initially be greatly doubted. Initially, the accusation will be made that they are lies and a falsification, yet with time the truth will be victorious. But first, much adversity and defamation will come about due to the text, even out of your own ranks. Yet the great time truth within the truth will always be victorious. Many attempts will be undertaken to cause the truth and the genuineness of the text to appear in a dark light and appear to be untruth. Yet all attempts will be useless, because the breaking through of the truth in your time is now already certain. Truly, very evil things against the text will be brought into play in order to revile it as lies and to destroy it. Very many paths will be trodden to that end. Out of foolishness, even lower spirits and the dead will be called upon, although that is impossible, in order to revile my teachings, newly presented by you as lies, in the same way as do the scribes, the Pharisees and the priests of my time, who are only able to come into contact with very lowly, ignorant, and misled humans and influence them by means of belief. So will it also be in your time, because the humans of your time will have succumbed just as much to delusional beliefs and ignorance as have the humans of my time. That will truly be a wicked evil in your time too.
They are indeed not exactly rosy outlooks. What will be asserted then in order to put into question the genuineness of your teaching and the text and to make the accusation that they are lies?
Truly, there will be very many paths trodden to that end. A new form of the lie will, however, be this. It will be asserted that the text is indeed very valuable and contains certain truths, yet it does not transmit my teaching. Rather, it is only the teaching of another who has also borne the name Jmmanuel. It will even be doubted that I am Jmmanuel, and I will be forced into another person's identity. This will result in association with the name Jesus Christ malevolently given to me. It will be asserted that I, Jmmanuel, would not be falsely named Jesus Christ, so it is supposed to appear that I, Jmmanuel, and the person of Jesus Christ, who I am imputed to be, have been two different people. These further lies about me will be invented about me very early in your time.
But now I want to come back once again to your teaching, said more precisely, to your text, which indeed is now being written down by Judas Iscariot. You said that it remains preserved up to my time. Thus, it must in my time be therefore hidden somewhere. Can you tell me where it is located, and can I fetch it from there?
Truly, I know where it will be, and I will tell you the precise place at a later point in time. But it is not intended that you will fetch the text prematurely from the place where it will be hidden. Nor is this intended for any others. I already told you that Judas Iscariot's text, which contained sections of my teaching, was stolen, This text will be the basis of all falsifications. Presently, they are also continued, in a falsified manner, by the Pharisees and scribes, and are not completed according to my teachings. The reason that this is happening is truly, however, only in order to falsify them now, and even more at a later time, to the point of being unrecognizable, and also to use them against me in court. As I therefore speak and teach of creation, the texts are being falsely modified in such a way that mendacious words are put into my mouth, and I am supposed to have spoken of a Father in heaven, the gathering of a host of angels, and many other false things. But I have never done that, because these forms do not correspond to the truth. I have always faithfully spoken of the truth of creation as being of creation, and of God as being of God. God was never put on a level with creation by me, because God is a creature of creation, as are you and I and every other human. In His form, He is a king of wisdom and a ruler over human races, in the same way that a king or emperor also is a ruler over human races on earth. But creation is the immeasurable secret and the creation of every creation. It is omnipotence, knowledge, wisdom, love, omniscience, and being. And my teachings speak of it alone when I talk of it and its laws and recommendations, and of the power of eternity. Translator's note: sentence 2 on 26 is omitted in the original. Truly, this alone is the truth and nothing else. But in your time, when everything is handed down differently, then that corresponds to an evil deception and abominable falsification on the part of the twisters of the texts and false teachers. Truly, the point of the falsifications lies just in the slander against me from the side of the scribes, Pharisees, and priests in order to have me die on the cross. But the further reason also lies in the fact that, through these false and twisted teachings, the humans of earth are to be beaten into serfdom, so that they are caused to succumb to poverty in regard to knowledge and reason, whereby they will be able to be shamefully enslaved through belief, so they can be exploited in evil ways.
Contact Report 001.
We know that you have cognizance of a secret old writing, whose originals were unfortunately destroyed because of the carelessness of our entrusted one, who was your friend and unfortunately failed in anxiety. Spread the translation of this writing, for it is the only one that is genuine in truth and contains no lie.
Contact Report 003.
You know the script of Judas Iscarioth, which fully corresponds to the truth.
Contact Report 006.
But I still have a question, if you allow me. It is about the Talmud Jmmanuel and the entrusted one by whose fault the original scrolls were destroyed, as you told me at an earlier time. With this entrusted one, do you mean Monsieur Rashid? And if so, what are the connections between him and you?
Yes, it concerns Rashid, whom we had won for our tasks. But unfortunately, he has failed in many things. For too long, he was dependent on the unreality of religion so that it could grow roots in him, which often allowed him to think and act illogically. A fact that unfortunately cannot be made good again.
Contact Report 007.
First, I would like to answer the question you asked me last time. Monsieur Rashid was already one of our contacts since 1956. As you do know, he was a priest of the Greek Orthodox Catholic Church. We engaged him to take several things in hand, which he also promised us to do. Thus, we thought that he would be the right man to solve a very difficult task. Consequently, we showed him the spot where he could have found the Talmud Jmmanuel, but which you then found, that original script that Judas Iscariot had written during the lifetime of Emmanuel, alias Jesus Christ. Through our help, he learned the old Aramaic language and was thus able to translate the scripts. He did this very correctly and made a German language translation that is, indeed, known to you. Through the reading of the original scripts, Monsieur Rashid succumbed to pangs of conscience and suddenly no longer knew what he should acknowledge as truth. To the outside, he made the feigned conviction known that he would give belief to the Talmud, but in reality, the religion was too deeply anchored in him, and he suffered from pangs of conscience. This, then, was also the reason why he officially withdrew from his religious belief and devoted himself solemnly to the task of translating aforementioned script, which he did very correctly in spite of everything. But as I said, he was not convinced and never knew what he should do. In addition, he lived constantly in anxiety that his found scripts might become discovered and known, so as a precaution, we had to associate him with someone who did not know anxiety and who guaranteed us, according to his character and knowledge, that he was able to secure the scripts, so therefore, you. Unfortunately, however, Monsieur Rashid became more and more entangled in his anxiety, and he began to divulge things that could become dangerous to him and the Talmud. He took it so far that by the middle of 1974, he had no choice but to flee from Jerusalem and take off to Lebanon, where he lived in a refugee camp under a false name, together with his family. But he then also had to flee again from there and left the country. His anxiety, however, was to blame for the fact that he locked all scripts in a wooden wall where they were completely destroyed by a fire just a few hours later when Israeli military invaded. Therefore, it was his fault that everything was destroyed. But actually, it is also our fault, because we trusted him too much and expected too much of him, whereby the most valuable evidence could be destroyed, which could ever have revealed the untruth of the Christian and all other sects and religions connected with it. But there still exists more than a quarter of the script in its German version, and it will also in this way be sufficient to bring the truth to light and free the human being from a deadly delusion. We broke off all contacts with him when he fled with his family from Lebanon and left the script for destruction. We only know that he was most recently in Iraq. From then on, we were no longer interested in him. He and his family have gotten lost somewhere in the world, just as he has also lost his real name.
What is that supposed to mean again? Is his name not Rashid?
No, because only his cousin is called by that name. I do not want to mention his real name officially, because perhaps he is now using it again, just as he did as a priest. Despite everything, we are not hostile-minded towards him and do not want to cause him any difficulties. That is why I do not want to mention his name openly.
All right, Simyase. I also do not want to know it.
You are not curious at all, although you know the real name.
Otherwise, now and then I am indeed, but when I do not want to be, then I just am not. With your allusion, however, do you mean the real given name or first name that begins with an I?
Yes, that name is meant.
Contact Report 008.
We have already spoken several times about the Talmud Jmmanuel. Jmmanuel himself has over the course of the last 2,000 years fundamentally been used again and again as main religious figure. Is the intention of once again using this already long-dead human being to make a new belief direction and an idol out of him? Is the Talmud Jmmanuel supposed to serve this purpose?
No. The teaching of Jmmanuel is not his teaching, but that of the creation and the laws of the creation, which Jmmanuel also first had to learn, recognize, and acknowledge. Because of that, he has only made known what the natural laws call for. The truth of the Talmud shall be taught and recognized as such, without a calling into play the name of Jmmanuel and his glorification. Important are only the truth and the laws, but not the person who brought this teaching, laws, and the truth.